Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Representative Eric Burleson shares a video that causes the entire Democrat Party to wet themselves, all because of his reminder of how hypocritical they've been when it comes to Elon Musk and Doge. Let's dive in.
Not a single company, governor of any state would ever turn down Elon Musk and his team of Doge from coming in and providing free services to right the course and financially in any state or organization. It's ridiculous that we would demonize someone that loves this country so much. Mr. Whitman, the formation of agencies via the executive action is not new, right? The formation of Doge is not new. Can you are you familiar with any other previous presidencies where they've formed organizations like Doge via executive action?
Yeah, so actually the agency that Doge is occupying is one that was created in a previous administration, so it is something that happens routinely. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, there's been the Office of Budget Management was created, Environmental Protection Agency was created, the U.S. Digital Service, which is now Doge, was created all by executive order, right?
And actually one other I'd add is USAID was originally created through an executive order by President Kennedy and then later formalized.
And then, Madam Chair, I have a video I would like to end with that just let's review, if we could cue that, to remind, and I want to remind my Democratic friends, at a point in which you once had the majority of the American people on your side, this is what your party believed in.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
I think it speaks for itself. My time has expired.
Oh, it certainly does, Eric. It does speak for itself now, doesn't it? Man, what happened to the Democrat Party? They actually used to care about these issues. They used to care about illegal immigration because it hurt American workers here at home. They used to care about cleaning up the streets, quite literally the crime bill, even though I'm not a big fan of it, and what it ultimately ended up doing was written by Joe Biden himself. And then they actually did care about cutting waste back in the 90s. That's because Bill Clinton had to work with Newt Gingrich or was going to get usurped by Newt Gingrich. Man, that man ran absolute circles around Bill Clinton, and Clinton was forced to work with him. He had no other choice. And so that was back when the Democrat Party really did care about America. So what changed? Even Barack Obama wanted, or at least stated publicly, that he wanted to cut some things back. What happened? I personally believe after 2014, something changed in the Democrat Party. I think they realized that the consequences don't matter because their constituents don't really care. And when I say that, I'm particularly talking about the rich white liberals who had made it, who could afford the tax policy changes and didn't want to address any of the other problems in America. After 2014, when they realized that, well, we don't really have to work for anything anymore, so they just kind of coasted by and then kept on just regurgitating what they thought was the thing that their constituents wanted to hear. Well, now that regurgitation is all over the place, and let me tell you, it stinks. All right? It has been absolutely putrid what they have been spewing for the past 10 years. It's been nothing but nonsense. And then, now we're actually trying to cut back the government, and we're trying to cut the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and now they're screaming like banshees, because as it turns out, the rich white liberals all know someone that's essentially being given a lot of money by the federal government to do a terrible job. That's essentially what's going on here. So now, after losing Twitter, and I am so thankful that this entire timeline I don't think wouldn't be possible if Elon Musk doesn't buy Twitter. What ended up happening there is that he realized that, oh, not only is our federal government full of abuse and fraud, it has been directly linked to subverting stories and working with Silicon Valley to persuade you that certain things didn't happen. Like, for instance, Hunter Biden, who was funneling money from Burisma, funneling money from Romania, funneling money from the Chinese Communist Party back to the big guy that was his father, and we found all that information on his laptop, in bank records and statements, and we even remember the time where Joe Biden, also in 2014, called up the current president of Ukraine and said, you stop looking into Burisma or I'm going to deliberately cut your funding. So I think, again, something happened after 2014, that the Democrats realized that nothing really mattered, they can do whatever they want, and there was going to be no consequences. Well, the chickens have come home to roost. And now, instead of saying, you know what, we screwed up, we're sorry, can you please forgive us, they're doubling down on the problem, all because the rich white liberals who control the Democrat Party have lost their minds. And that's because of the propaganda that they have just been pumped full for the past 20, or arguably 30 years of believing that the conservatives are evil, they're mean bigots, when the reality is the soft bigotry of the left has made everything demonstrably worse for the very minorities that they want to help and protect. Seriously, just read your Thomas Sowell for that. There is nothing more detrimental to a minority in the United States than a rich white liberal controlling policy. And so, like I said, the chickens have come home to roost. And in that video, you even saw Bill Clinton and Al Gore, which, by the way, we don't talk enough about the Democrat coalition. Back in that time, there were still Southern Democrats. Al Gore was the political son of a very famous Tennessee senator, and Al Gore is from Tennessee. Bill Clinton is from Arkansas. Jimmy Carter, Georgia. As a matter of fact, the only Democrat to win a national election from up north has been Barack Obama, and he had the entirety of the Illinois Mafia backing him. So the Democrats are in a huge problem, in a huge conundrum right now. They can't admit to wrongdoing, and unfortunately there's a lot of Republicans who are in a similar pickle. They can't admit the wrongdoing because that means that they'll probably lose their elections. They can't admit the fact that they've been wrong, or once again, you run the same exact risk. And you also run the risk of ticking off your own constituents who are still blindly following mainstream media headlines instead of actually asking, hey, wait a minute, is there some truth to all this? Fundamentally, the Democrats have realized that a whole bunch of their constituency are just not inquisitive, legitimate people. They are simply following orders because it makes them feel good about themselves. And in this video, when you actually show Democrats at least giving lip service to the idea that it's probably a good thing to cut back the bloat and the unnecessary nonsense in our federal government. But they can't admit that, they can't admit their wrongdoing, and they can't admit that, hey, we've screwed up here, all because their constituency will have their hides on a pike, all because of it. So yeah, the Democrats are in a huge conundrum, and it's very possible that Elon Musk might have even put them in a political checkmate, because the longer they keep on refusing to admit that there's a problem, the more likely that Republicans are going to keep on winning, and at this point, I am all here for it. So thank you, Elon Musk, for exposing this nonsense. Thank you, Eric Burleson. This was a fantastic little video, and thank you, Democrats. This would not be possible without your hubris. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.